Hello and welcome to the YouTube home of Creedal Catholic, a theology, apologetics, and culture podcast that is faithful to the magisterium of the Catholic Church and dedicated to the mission of the new evangelization. I'm so glad that you found this YouTube home. Creedal Catholic has been an audio podcast for about 2 years now. And if you'd like, maybe you've already done this, but if you'd like, you can go listen to our backlog of episodes wherever you get your podcasts. This is just an example from Apple Podcasts. But Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Google Play, etc. You can find Creedal Catholic there. You can also stick around on this YouTube channel, and I've uploaded audio versions. So they're not videos, but they're audio versions of the podcast episodes for the entire backlog of Creedal Catholic. So that's another way to get some of the previous content. And I've loved the content. I've been able to interview some really good and interesting people who are doing great work in the church today. And so I encourage you to peruse the backlog and see what you might be able to find that's of interest to you. For this channel, I want to use the YouTube channel, one, as a means of just disseminating more of the existing podcast content that I have, but also experimenting with some new formats. We're going to be diving into some new topics. I'm going to have some different interesting guests on and do video interviews with them. So you can expect more of that in this location on the YouTube feed. Why Creedal Catholic? Great question. I called this Creedal Catholic because I'm not a cradle Catholic. By cradle Catholic, I mean someone who was baptized in the church, the Catholic Church, who was raised in the church, who has been a member of the church since literally they were in the cradle when they were baptized as a tiny infant, as my kids are growing up as cradle Catholics. That was not me. I grew up in a Protestant family that was very devout. My parents loved Jesus Christ very much. And so I was a Christian I have been a Christian my entire life. But when I reached college and then grad school, I really started asking questions about why I believe what I believe. What is the nature of God? What is the nature of the Trinity? Did Christ found a church? Right? What is the purpose of the church? Studying ecclesiology, soteriology, how we are saved. What is the mechanism of salvation? What does that look like? And so the more I asked those questions, the more I scratched into the surface and eventually started digging deeper under the surface, the more I realized that I needed to make a change. I needed to be I needed to enter the Catholic Church, the church that Christ founded. So it was a hard decision at the time, hard not because of the way the evidence led me, that was pretty clear, but hard because of what I was leaving behind, right? And I think most converts who come from another faith tradition or another denomination, and I shouldn't say another denomination, Catholicism is not simply a denomination among many, but come from a Christian and specifically Protestant denomination, it's a very tricky thing sometimes because you're leaving behind family members, close friends, who feel so strongly and so deeply about where they are and what they believe. And so you can certainly suffer personal loss when you enter the church, and that was absolutely the case for my wife Sally and I when we did. But at the same time, as I told my parents just a couple of years ago when we were talking about this, at the same time, my only regret about becoming Catholic is that I did not do it sooner. And I'm so grateful that Jesus Christ brought me into the church, that by the prodding of the Holy Spirit, I had the courage to ask difficult questions and to seek difficult answers regardless of where they led. And so now here I am. I'm a lay Catholic apologist and catechist. I love talking about the faith. This is not my full-time job. I have a day job that allows me to feed my family, thank goodness. And I'm thankful to God for that. But this is what I do in some of my free time. And so I like talking about the faith. I like exploring the faith. I like asking deep questions with people who are a heck of a lot smarter than me. So you can expect more of that on the YouTube channel. I also want to say, but in parting in this introduction video, that the motto of Creedal Catholic is to cast into the deep. And what do I mean by that? Well, cast into the deep comes from a passage in Luke chapter 5 that John Paul the Great, St. John Paul II, when he was Pope, wrote to the church about in, I think it was fall or winter 1999. I think it was beginning of Advent 1999. And the apostolic letter was called At the Beginning of the New Millennium. And in that apostolic letter, John Paul the Great called upon the church to remember its mission to evangelize. And he said, remember that Jesus tells us to cast into the deep. Now that's a fishing term, and if we go to Luke chapter 5, we can unpack a little bit more about what that means. Luke chapter 5 is just after Jesus has healed Simon Peter's mother-in-law, and Simon Peter and his fishing friends are out in their boats, and Jesus is with them. And this is right before Jesus calls Simon with the fishers of men line that probably a lot of us know about, but they've been out there all night trying to fish, and they've not been able to catch much. And so Jesus tells them, perhaps counterintuitively, cast out into the deep, right? In other words, it's going to take more effort. You're going to have to let your nets out really deep to get the catch that you want, but do it. And Simon Peter, to his credit, initially doubted and said, Jesus, we've been out here toiling all night, working really hard, and we haven't gotten anything. But because you say to do this, we will. And so they do it, and not only do they catch the fish that they wanted to catch, but they catch so many fish that their nets start to break. And so they call their friends over, hey, come here, you bring your boat over. We need help carrying these fish to the shore. And so another boat comes over, and they fill that boat up. And these boats are so full of fish that they start to sink. That's how much Simon Peter reaped the fruits of following Jesus' call to cast into the deep. So they get back to the shore, and Simon Peter falls at Jesus' feet and says, depart from me, Lord, for I'm a sinful man. And it's then that we get the famous line from Jesus, right? The one that we all know, from now on I will make you fishers of men, right? So the cast into the deep is obviously on its face. It's just an instruction from Jesus on where Simon Peter should go to catch the most fish. But stepping back for a minute, looking at what Jesus is saying to Simon Peter, he's saying, cast into the deep for the men that you will catch, right? As you evangelize, as you do the difficult work of evangelization, cast into the deep. And that's exactly what St. John Paul II was reminding us in the church, especially lay people, heeding the call of the Second Vatican Council to be more involved in the faith as lay people, to be involved in the new evangelization. That's what we're trying to do. So cast into the deep. That means asking hard questions. It means seeking difficult answers. It means having tough conversations with people when it might be easier for you to just say, you know what, go your own way and do your own thing, and that's fine. No, the mission of the church is urgent. The mission of the church needs to be done now. And as a layperson in the Catholic Church, I'm excited to say that Creedal Catholic hopefully can be a small part of the mission of the new evangelization as we seek to spread the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So thanks for coming to the channel. I'd appreciate it if you give the button a subscribe, the subscribe button a click, so you can be notified when I release new content. And again, check out the audio podcast as well, Creedal Catholic, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, God bless you.